Investing in the United States versus investing overseas. That's what I'd love for us to dive into today. As you may know, I am currently traveling full time with my family, and we're traveling internationally.
That's awesome! I know!
A question I often get asked by those who know I'm in the real estate investing space is if I'm picking up investment properties in these different countries. And so what I'd like to do is today share the pros and cons of investing in the United States versus what is available internationally, and kind of honestly tell you why I'm continuing to invest in the United States, what is special about real estate investing in the United States, so that you can see if you're thinking about investing internationally, what those differences are. And if you are investing in the United States and you want to stick there, you'll hear what I appreciate about it, and you'll just, I think, appreciate that yourself a little bit more next time it comes up that you have to deal with it. And as always, if you are looking to grow and scale your real estate investing portfolio without scaling up your work, be sure to head on over to adriennegreen.com and download my Freedom Blueprint. The link is in the details below. Let's start off with what I love about investing in the United States, and that isn't really available in every other place.
What is it?
Easy access to tools and supplies for property management and cleaning. Since leaving the United States 8 months ago, I am now in my second rental ever that has a vacuum. So I've been in probably 10, 12 different, Airbnb short-term rentals. And out of those, I'm in the second one ever that has a vacuum. In other places, vacuums just aren't a thing. So these cleaners are going in and they're cleaning with a broom and a dustpan. And often this broom is not some state-of-the-art broom. It's an old, worn out, kind of janky broom, okay? And the cleaners are expected to do those jobs with that. And so now when I see a vacuum, I am so happy, right? Because it's so much easier to get things really clean, especially if you've got a carpet or a rug, which I've had plenty of those in rentals as I'm traveling abroad, and I really try to just not think about how the cleaner is or is not cleaning those carpets and rugs. Yeah, let's just leave it at that. So, and the vacuum, that's just one example of the overall picture of the fact that in the United States, we have access to so many things, so many supplies. And while we may lament that we have like a consumption mentality in the United States and there's too much buying, on the flip side, you really can buy whatever you want and fill that need that you have. And in other countries, you may have a need and literally there's nothing on the market that you can buy to fill that need. So high-powered vacuums, professional grade cleaning tools, short-term rental supplies that you may want, they're available everywhere in the United States, and it's something that isn't always the case in other countries. And it's so easy to get them in the United States, right? There's Amazon Prime, there's Walmart delivery. You can get anything you want delivered to your doorstep. It is easy to get it delivered to your doorstep. It is often, I know not always, but often safe and secure until you or someone else is able to get there and get that package. And these kind of things and these kind of ways are not nearly as easy or as accessible in other countries. So that convenience of getting what you need to manage and clean a short-term rental is something that I very much appreciate about real estate investing in the United States. Number 2 is the investor-friendly mortgage options that we have in the United States. In many countries, mortgages aren't a thing at all, or if they do exist, they require much larger down payments, they have much higher interest rates, they're for much shorter time periods. So the flexibility, the opportunity with these investor-friendly mortgages in the United States, having down payments of, as little as 15 to 20% for something that's purely for investments, having things that are as little as 0% down for VA loans or 3.5% down for FHA loans for people to buy their primary residences that they may use for investing purposes. This is like revolutionary for the world and something that I think is hugely, hugely powerful. Now, why do I love mortgages? Because they're allowing you to leverage your money, right? If you have 20% down, when that property goes up 5%, well, you only have 1/5 of that value invested with your down payment. So you're actually getting a much bigger multiplier on your money, right? You're getting 5 times 5. That's a 25% appreciation on your money. So mortgages are the money multiplier. That's why we love them. And so that is a huge, huge plus that really allows you to build wealth in real estate investing in the United States by using these safe, secure, very generous mortgage plans with low down payments and really great terms. Another aspect of mortgages that it's fabulous is access to HELOCs and cash out refis. So you can get that equity out of the house and be using it. And those are, again, things that we're not getting in every country or many others. Next on the list is, again, to dive into how easy it is to get supplies delivered. The fact that we have things like Amazon Prime, Walmart delivery, so many places, overstock.com, where you can order online and have whatever you need for a rental property delivered to the house. If you're doing a renovation, there's still options with Lowe's or Home Depot or things like that to get a lot of those supplies delivered to your house as well. And that is, again, something that is not available in other countries. So there's a lot more labor and time that goes into finding what you need, getting what you need, and getting it to the property. And so I just love how efficient we've made these systems in the United States, and time is money. And so that's a big part of it. And then, of course, the overall cost. Now, things in the US are often more expensive than other countries, but relative to everything else, a lot of these things are very, very affordable that you might need for your investment property. The next on my list of things that are great about investing in the US is that you have secure home and land ownership for US citizens and investors. Ownership rights are strong in the United States. Once you buy a property in the United States, it's legally yours, which is a protection that isn't guaranteed everywhere. Now, foreign investors face a lot of restrictions abroad. In some countries, foreigners can't legally own land or property, or ownership is heavily regulated. Now, in the United States, foreigners can own property. It can be more difficult for them to get mortgage loans, but if people are bringing cash to the table as a foreign investor, there is no limitation or lesser form of ownership that you are getting as an international investor versus a US citizen. And that is, again, something very different from other countries. Another thing we have in the US related to that home and land ownership and the security is US title insurance and legal protections really reduce your risk with buying and owning property in the United States. Property rights are very clear, and investors have ways to ensure security in their investment that, again, isn't always available in other countries.
Let's hear from our sponsor. Are you struggling to keep up with all of your real estate tasks? Workergenics provides full-service virtual staffing solutions to help you reclaim your time. They're offering a free Delegate or Die checklist, which includes 100 tasks you can delegate to a virtual assistant as a real estate investor. Many investors have already seen the benefits. Join them by downloading the Delegate or Die checklist at workergenics.com/freedom blueprint. That's workergenix.com/freedom blueprint. Start delegating and see the difference. Now back to our show.
Now, all of this comes together to make it so the US is one of the best countries for building and scaling a real estate business because of the ease, because of the speed, because of the security, because of the mortgages. You're really able to have a real estate investing business that grows more than it would really be feasible in other countries. And so that's something, if you really want to do this in a way that's going to be transformational and life-changing, the US gives you that opportunity because you can go further faster than you can in other countries. Another aspect of this is that the US has some of the most predictable and transparent real estate bureaucracy. I know if you're a real estate investor, the word bureaucracy probably just sends shivers down your spine. You probably have a horror story of dealing with some sort of bureaucracy somewhere, some sort of licensing, some sort of tax issue, some sort of ordinance or municipal code. And yet, let me tell you, it is so much worse in other countries, right? We have it relatively easy in the United States when it comes to bureaucracy. When we think of permits, regulations, and zoning laws, the US is still among the best in terms of predictable legal processes. Now, of course, there are some challenges to real estate investing in the United States as well. So what are those pain points that we're still dealing with in US real estate investing? One of the main pain points I see in real estate investing versus abroad is the high cost of labor. Labor is high and there's really slow adaptation to technology alternatives, is how I would put it. if you have lived in the US in the last few years, you know that service costs have skyrocketed. And yet, where there may be technology that could, honestly replace a human, not to sound harsh, but where technology could lessen the need for that expensive local human, many industries are resisting that automation or still demanding that personal service or touch, even though it's getting more expensive and it's not necessarily the best option. It's just how we've always done business because labor used to be a lot cheaper. So it used to make sense. And we haven't yet adapted to where labor is now and where technology is now and made that pivot. For example, I think one area where we're starting to see that pivot and it's starting to be more accepted and yet there's still resistance is self-checkout, right? At grocery stores, at things like that, it's been 20 years, 20 to 25 years where we've been incorporating and having more self-checkout. And I would really say, think about how long it's taking to make that transition and that pivot. And yet self-checkout is really, grocery stores aren't a high profit business, right? They've got very thin margins. And so it could make a huge difference to lessen the cost and the risk of a cashier and instead have self-checkout for the 80+% of transactions where self-checkout is a better fit. And yet you may be a listener who has an emotional reaction to that, who's like, I don't want to deal with a machine. I want to have a person. It's so much faster and easier, all these things. And I get that. And yet having that person is coming at a higher and higher cost because labor costs are going up and up and up. And that's either going to drive your costs up as a consumer or it's going to run these businesses out of business, right? So one of the things that I see in other countries is labor is a lot cheaper. And so it's a lot easier to just have someone do it. Or in countries where labor is comparably expensive to the United States, they're embracing technology as the better business choice. So that's one thing I think in the United States that I don't see labor getting any cheaper anytime soon. So I think the solution really is for us to see where can we leverage technology and use people where we really need them. The second major con I see to investing in the United States right now is rising insurance costs. It's a major burden on investors right now. And I get why, right? I get that there have been these huge natural disasters that destroy houses and those make homeowners insurance go up. I get the equation and how it works. And yet I'm just saying that it's making it tougher to invest in real estate in the United States, right? These insurance costs have gone up more so than income or market rates for rentals have gone up. And so it's making it more difficult for the numbers to pencil out for investors. My third challenge that I see in the United States is labor shortages. It's hard to find reliable service providers, whether that's contractors, cleaners, maintenance workers, they're in short supply. And I think this is partially a result of the culture where for a long time, those often blue collar workers weren't celebrated in society and we were pushing everybody more to like college paths and things like that. So there's a shortage, right? There's a shortage of these service providers that's again, making them super busy. It's driving costs up where the numbers are tighter for our real estate investors. And so it's really just a challenge. It's one of the challenges we face. As a specific example, I was working with a client setting up a short-term rental and it was kind of outside the city center. It was 20 minutes from downtown and yet not in that city center. And we were only able to find one cleaner who would clean for short-term rental turnovers where this house was located. There wasn't multiple options. There wasn't a ton of supply. And so that's the kind of thing that could make it a challenge for real estate investors. The fourth challenge that I see for real estate investors is property taxes. Similar to insurance rates, we've seen property taxes because market rates or home values have gone up so much since 2020. A lot of investors who've owned properties for a long time are seeing their property taxes skyrocket, just like people, primary residence owners living in those homes are seeing and feeling the pinch. So these property taxes going up and the market rates for rentals not going up at the same rate is again making numbers tighter for people right now. So those are the cons that I think a lot of real estate investors are feeling in the US market right now. And yet, like I said, the US has so many pros that for me outweigh the cons. Now, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Please write a comment below. What do you think about investing in the United States versus abroad? I'd love to hear your thoughts. And remember, if you're looking for some great strategies and tools to help you run your portfolio like a business so you can leverage and grow, be sure to go get my Freedom Blueprint at adriennegreen.com. Then be sure to join me back here every Monday and Thursday for my next episode of the Freedom Blueprint podcast.